Hello, Angela Coté here, and I am excited to be here on behalf of the CFA here today to interview somebody who is just has been such an inspiration to me and has become a good friend. And we often refer to her as my little sister, Ruth Agbaji, the CEO and founder of Code Wiz. How are you, Ruth?
I am good. I'm good. Super excited to be here and have this conversation with you.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because we definitely like to have fun together and we really align. So I think this is going to be a really fun episode. I'm going to start just by giving some context for our listeners of my background, just so they know where I'm coming from. And that is just for anybody that doesn't know, I come from that sounds kind of funny, but my upbringing is with M&M Food Market Family Business. My dad is the founder, and we grew through franchising over the years to almost 500 locations. And so I, over the years, have learned a lot about franchising and, whether that was being out in the field dressed as Kelly Kebab at grand openings or, running around supporting franchisees and then being a franchisee myself. So it's just such a joy to be able to be here with the CFA, representing, the CFA and getting to interview amazing franchisors who are doing amazing things as well. So I'm really looking forward to digging in here with you, Ruth. We'll make sure that we get some good takeaways for the audience. And I mean, you and I have done things like this together before, and I know I can guarantee that people will leave feeling inspired and like they can do hard things. So here we go. Are you ready to get going, Ruth?
Yep, ready to rock and roll.
Okay, no pressure at
No
all.
pressure, right?
Exactly. Okay, well, speaking of inspiration, we definitely need to start with your backstory. You've had such an amazing journey from Nigeria to the U.S., and I mean, now you've partnered with a Canadian parent company to really amplify your growth and the impact you can make. So let's just start by, when you were in Nigeria, how you just tell about how you went from Nigeria and made your way to the U.S. It wasn't just buying a flight ticket and off you went.
No, it was not. And first of all, I should say thank you to the CFA for this opportunity. I'm really excited to be here, and I feel like I'm half Canadian and half American at this point. So this is really awesome. Okay. So yeah, so I grew up in northern Nigeria where, there was a lot of a religious crisis, and we were middle class, but middle class at that time also meant, super poor. And so we were constantly living without electricity. We were constantly having to walk miles to to fetch water. And you know how you see it on the TV where you balance a bucket on your head and you have two in your hands. That's literally the life that I lived
That's crazy.
for a while. I know. I tell my daughter now, I'm like, yeah, I fetch water in my hand. And she's like, what? So it's something she can't even imagine right now because she was born here. But going through all of that, I think I always felt, even from a young age, that, there's got to be more to life than this. Like this, especially the fact where we had to be running for our lives, like it just didn't seem right, and I just always felt like I could be more and I could do more, and that's kind of like the mantra of my life, even up till now. And so got into college, and a lot of things just seemed like a lot of random events. So somebody randomly mentioned the word ASP.NET to me. And this was at a time where I was in my fourth year of college. I was studying for an electrical engineering degree. And the way it was set up, and it's a third world country, so obviously they have issues, but I felt like I wasn't learning much because a lot of the knowledge that we were being taught was very theoretical. And when you go to have a lab, you would have one piece of equipment dedicated to like 50 people. And then the boys, electrical engineering, it's a very male dominated field, and so the boys would be like, yeah, you girls just stay on the sidelines, let's get this done, and you go figure out yourself later. So I always felt like I wasn't learning much, and so there was that yearning to want to. I knew that I was smart and I could be more, but there was just not that opportunity to be able to see that being expressed. And so somebody randomly mentioned ASP.NET, and I'm like, huh, something just clicked for me. And so I went to look at it. I went to the internet cafe because internet was not readily available at that time. And I was like, holy moly, okay, I can do this. All I need is a laptop and I can learn how to code. I can teach myself how to code and I can see that practical application of knowledge that I have. So I got really excited by that. And around the same time too, my mom got a laptop from a grant at work, and so all the stars kind of just started to align for us, for me. And so I started to learn. I started to attempt to learn to program, and the first big hurdle was downloading the software that I needed to learn how to program, and that took 3 weeks. Believe it or not, I know it's very hard to imagine on this side of the world that a download would take 3 weeks, but it did.
Wow.
And it often involved me staying up because the internet would work best at night. So I had to stay up between 3 a.m. and like 5 a.m. so that things would get downloaded. But anyhow, that's a really long part of the story. I did eventually get it done and then I started working through it. And one of the things that I've also, I think is just a personality trait, I just do tend to dive into things. It's much bigger than me. It's usually when I dive in, I'm like, oh wow, this is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. And so I decided that I wanted to create this big project for my department because one of the challenges that our faculty was having was that you would have one faculty to like 1,000 kids. And it was just people were burning out. There were no TAs, so the whole testing system was just broken. And so I wanted to fix that with my project. And so I started to do that very, very quickly. Ran into errors and mistakes. If you've ever tried to code, you know what that looks like. But I didn't want to give up. I felt like, I've always wanted to get out. This might be my ticket out. I cannot give up. I have to keep going and I have to be resourceful and find a way to fix this problem. So I just randomly Googled the problem, as all awesome software engineers do. Our first step is to Google the problem. And so I Googled it, and there was a guy who had written a blog post about something similar. And it didn't quite address my problem, but I was like, you know what? It cost me nothing to email him. And in the worst case, he just won't respond to me. And so I did that. And lo and behold, he responded and he mentored me over email over like the next 6 months or so. And that really accelerated my learning how to code. It helped me to finish my project. And then it was at that point I was like, okay, I'm going to apply to colleges outside the US. I'm sorry, outside the US, outside Nigeria to see if I could get a scholarship because I knew that my parents could not afford to send me outside the country. And so learning how to code was the basis of all those, personal statements that you have to write. I described my story, my passion for coding, and the lengths I had gone to learn to teach myself how to code. And I applied all over the world, and I got one scholarship opportunity from Tufts University, and that's how I came to the U.S. And I never looked back.
Oh man, I've heard your story so many times and I still get chills. I think I got chills 5 times when I just heard that story. Like, it's just so incredible, Ruth. And it's so interesting. You believed in yourself. You believed that you could do it. That was in you somehow. And I know that now you're using that to help others do that, feel that same way, right? Like when, I know, you taught me that Nigerians are humble by nature. And, I know when we first started working together, you were like, I feel really uncomfortable, putting myself out there, and it feels not right. And it was like, at some point though, I think you felt the switch of, if I show others that I could go from that to where I am now, I can inspire others. So I've definitely seen in the last few years, you really ramp up that your level of like tactful assertiveness to, for the right reasons, and to shine a light on what you're doing to achieve your goals and attract the right people. And you mentioned a couple times in that story that things just kind of, the stars were lining up. Well, I think you meant it, you attracted people in and you saw opportunities and you took it. Like, I think some people, they those opportunities are there and they maybe see them and then they're just too scared and they don't do it. But, you took those opportunities. So I'd like to just hear your thoughts on this, I need to be humble by nature, or I naturally am. And now you're still humble, but you've grown to feel more comfortable putting yourself out there. Do you why has that been important for you to have that shift?
Yeah. So I should actually correct that impression that Nigerians are humble. I think it is where I grew up. I grew up in a super conservative area of Nigeria where, yes, it is a virtue to be humble and not brag about yourself. You literally have to wait on people to brag on you. Bragging on yourself was just typically frowned on. But there are some people that are like, oh yeah, they're the showstoppers. They are not humble at all. So I just wanted to correct that. But
Okay.
yes, that was the upbringing that I had. Is you don't talk about yourself. You just let people talk about you. And coming to the US, that was a huge cultural shift for me. Seeing people, talk about, oh yeah, I did this and I accomplished this and I did that. For me, it was just like, ah, how can they talk like that? They're so prideful. But it really was just a cultural thing. And I do have to say, meeting like you really helped me with that mindset shift of it's not so much about just talking about yourself all the time and wanting people to look at you. It's really about look at me to see what I have done. And if I could do this, you can as well. Like, at least for a lot of people on this side of the world, they have a lot more going for them than I did back home. And so I'm often looking at people, I'm like, man, there's so much potential here, there's so much opportunity here. If only you would jump in and seize those opportunities, right? You could be achieving your dreams, you could be doing all the things that you imagined yourself doing. But I find that people are often limiting themselves. Yeah, I'm too this, I'm too young, it's a male dominated field, nobody's gonna listen to me. Or there will always be that one excuse that you can hang on to. And so for me, that mindset shift was just being able to say, hey, look at me, look at me. Here's how awesome I am doing. You can do the same too. That helped me to overcome it, because I'm like, okay, I'm not saying look at me so you can praise me. I'm saying look at me so you can also go and achieve the things that you don't think you can achieve.
I love it. Like, I just, awesome. I feel like we could like stop the podcast now and people would be inspired, and like, I just keep getting chills. So because I like to say that I believe that being a leader that people see your actions and your role modeling
Mm-hmm.
actions that they can emulate or copy or whatever, so that they can have the same happiness, results, and success, or whatever it is they're looking for. So that's awesome. And the other thing I wanted to say that you seem to naturally just get, and I don't even know if you've heard me say this expression, and I didn't make this up. I heard it somewhere, but the brain can only, it freaks out when when you're going to take that leap of, that, what happens, we get in that fear mode of, I don't want to do this thing because it's unknown. Right. And it's because the brain can only calculate what it's going to lose. But because
Mm-hmm.
there's no thing there, it can calculate what it's going to gain. A lot of people get stuck because they just keep thinking about what they might give up or lose. Like you coming to the US, like it, your brain could have just been so scared or even taking the time to do what you did to learn coding and all that. Right. But I think you naturally, you're not even, you're just like, I know that there's more out there. I heard you say that a few times. So that's awesome. Okay. Sorry, I had to
Yeah.
so excited. But we're going to move on to a next question here. So I'd like to know what fuels you through your challenges. So, making your way to North America, figuring out how to franchise your business as a young female wife and mother of two young kids, Nigerian woman, what are some things, or what is it that fuels you through when you're in the challenges? What fuels you in that moment? Maybe it's a thought, or maybe it's someone or an action, or how do you get through that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, a lot of times I try not to overthink things. I just try to hyper focus on the goal. Like I know that there's a goal, that's where I want to be, and I understand that there'll be challenges that will come. And what then happens is you just don't know what kind of challenges will come, but just preparing yourself from the onset, this is what I try to do, is there's going to be challenges, and this happened with the acquisition, which we haven't quite talked about yet, but I know, like, okay, by getting acquired by Claire Summit Group and Tutor Doctor, that's the goal. And whatever is going to happen, between now and hitting that goal, I'm just going to get through it, right? Once I get to that point, I will figure it out. And it will be hard sometimes. It will be easier than I anticipate sometimes. But just keeping my mind and keeping myself hyper focused on where I'm getting to really helps me to navigate all of the obstacles and then also understanding and not kidding yourself that it's all going to be smooth, understanding that there are going to be challenges. No matter, the best laid plans always have challenges, right? Things go wrong, things change. COVID, look at COVID, right?
Yeah.
Whoever anticipated that? But just keeping my mind hyper focused on the goal, I think, is what really gets me through it. So when I'm down in the dumps, and like I've had, the last 2 weeks for us have been incredibly stressful, just with staffing and whatnot, and I'm just like, man, I can't believe I'm having to deal with this. But I'm just like, okay, this is the goal. This is temporary. Pain is temporary. The joy at the end of the goal is going to be permanent. So I'm going to be focusing on that joy that I will be getting when I hit the goal, and just deal with the challenges as they come. And I also have to say that, being an entrepreneur can be very lonely, because not everybody gets it. You often have people around you who absolutely love you and want the best for you, but they're like, can't you just stop working? Shouldn't you go to bed? I'm like, I'd love to go to bed, but this has to happen. This needs to get done. And sometimes that can be isolating when people, your family and loved ones around you, don't quite get the drive and the need to really keep pushing and going and not give up. And surrounding yourself with people like you, I think I have found, is also helpful. So when you're like running low on energy, and you're just like, man, I know that's the goal, but I'm just discouraged and tired and exhausted. But just being in, and that's what, I'm gonna put a plug for you, but that's what your roundtables did for me through the COVID period, was being around people who are facing the exact same issues, and some people even worse, and they're just like powering through, and you feel energized too, knowing that you're not alone, and you have this group of people that are going through the exact same things as you are. And that's a really long answer to your question. But yeah, those are the kind
Oh,
of two things that I try to do.
yeah, I feel like I heard three
Oh,
takeaways
great.
from that. Yeah, I think I got three. I got focusing on the goal, being really clear on what your goal is, and really remembering when it gets tough, I'm doing this because of this goal. So
Mhm.
this, the audience here is a wide range of, probably franchisors might be listening, but franchisees or prospective franchisees that are listening. And to understand, no matter what it is, if you know what you want to do, what's your goal? So I heard that you're really clear on that. And I didn't always know what my goal was. And I've had like coaches and mentors that helped me get clear on that. And it's helped me immensely. So that's a key takeaway.
Mhm.
Also, my line that I stole from Marie Forleo, everything is figure outable.
Yes.
And I'm hearing that's coming out loud and clear from what you're saying. You know that when things will happen, you will figure it out. It
Mhm.
is so empowering when you believe that, and you do believe that, and I believe that. And I mean, I even, I have an affirmation that I do some affirmations in the morning just to like ground myself. And one of them is everything always works out for me. And if you believe, and it sounds like you believe that, I'm just
Yeah.
pointing that out. And then the third thing was, what fuels you, I guess, is being aligned, like finding those people that do make you feel less alone
Yeah.
when things get tough, right? So I totally heard you like loud and clear on the, being an entrepreneur and working hard. And I think what's hard for people that aren't, and again, this could be even for a franchisee,
Mhm.
someone becoming a, a franchisee, become a business owner, when it's important for people to around you, or to have people that do understand, because you're just so passionate because it's your baby.
Right.
Right. So anyway, so those are the three things: that being focused on the goal, trusting that everything will work out, or everything's figure outable, and knowing where to go for support when you're in those times. So that was awesome. Okay, speaking of franchisees, you've got, and we're going to talk about your partnering with Clear Summit Group shortly here, if we can fit that in, hopefully, which I think we will. But speaking of franchisees, I've been very blessed to be with you in some of the calls with the prospective franchisees, and people that you're looking to bring to your team. And I think it would be cool to talk about, who are you trying to attract as franchisees to partner up with you to grow Code Wiz. So maybe you want to talk about some of the traits that are important to you, or the culture at Code Wiz. And yeah, this is an important question. So take your time.
So one of the things that I've learned through my franchising journey and is um, we are better together and we are stronger together. And I really saw this come through during when COVID first hit, was everybody just came together and we were all just trying to figure it out. And that is one of the beauties of franchising, is that, it's many heads in the room figuring out one problem, versus when you are a solo entrepreneur, which is cool, but you're on your own for the most part trying to figure things out. And that is something that we are fully embracing right now, is working very closely with our franchisees to move Code Wiz forward. So we are not taking the approach of, I am right, you're wrong. Anything you do as a franchisee that's outside the manuals is wrong. Well, yes, we do want you to follow the model, but we are working very closely now to say, hey, what are you hearing? What are you seeing in the field? How are things going for you? If you have an idea, let's talk about it, and let's see if that idea can help another franchisee, or it can move the business forward together. So I say all of that to say that the culture at Code Wiz is one of collaboration, where we're all collaborating to move Code Wiz forward, right? It's not, well, it's her brand, well, it's her business, it's our business. If you are successful, we're all successful. If I'm successful, we're all successful. And that's really the culture that we're trying to push right now. And so for our franchise partners who are coming in, we really want somebody who thrives in a culture like that, where you're happy to work together with people. You're entrepreneurial. Is that correct? Entrepreneurial minded? Huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. We know what you mean. I'm not going to try to figure that one out. Entrepreneurially.
Maybe somebody will put in the LinkedIn comments, nope, you're wrong. But but yeah, somebody who is entrepreneurial, right? You're entrepreneurial, but you like to work together with others. So it wouldn't work well if we have somebody who's super entrepreneurial but just wants to go off and do their own thing. If you're entrepreneurial and you're willing to work with a group of others to move the business forward, then Code Wiz is a great place for you. Another thing is somebody who sees impacting the next generation as part of their ROI. And everybody has their why for why they want to start a business. Everybody has, the reason. And for some people, it's purely financial, which is totally fine. For some others, it's more than just financial. It's about impact, about leaving a legacy. And so for us, we really love franchise partners that see making an impact as part of their ROI, because the truth is that we are touching kids' lives in more ways than we even understand. We hear some stories, but the truth is we'll never hear most of the stories of how much of an impact we're making. And when you hear some of the stories, like a parent came in and was crying because she said, her son has finally found his tribe. Like, this is a kid who has been ostracized at school, doesn't have friends because he's always geeking out on CPU speed and things like that. And then he comes to Code Wiz, and he and the coach are just going back and forth about, even things that honestly I don't even know. Like, they're just like really into it. And the mom's just like, I'm just so happy he's found a place. And other stories, people would say, the child didn't want to have anything to do with coding, but they took a class, and now the child has declared that they're going to be a software engineer. Or when we did a field trip to Google, and one young lady was like, I'm so inspired by all the other ladies that I saw as engineers. I'm making it my life goal. And this is a 9-year-old. I'm making it my life goal to work at Google. These are just some of the stories that we hear. And then even from the coaches, and I'm sorry, I'm good off on a tangent, but this thing makes me really happy for the coaches. Like, that we had a high schooler who worked with us, and she says she chose her major, bioengineering, because she enjoyed working with kids so much when she was at Code Wiz, that she now wants to make heart devices for kids when she grows up. So there's a lot of impact that our franchise partners can make on kids and their community. And having that be something that fills you up, that makes you happy, is an ideal trait for us. And then obviously, it's not a nonprofit organization. We do want you to make money. We do want you to be able to hit those financial goals that you've set for yourself. And that comes with some level of business acumen and willingness to put yourself out there in the community and all of that. So I would say those are our top three. I don't know if I said 3 or 4 now at this point, but those will be our top traits for franchise partners.
That's amazing. I'm loving it's very purpose driven, and yeah, and you're so focused on making an impact and purpose. And I think I'm going to skip to a question I was going to ask you a bit later, but I think this is, I didn't really ask you, we didn't really get into like why you started Code Wiz. So we can maybe sort of tie in why coding is so important, as an education for children and anyone really. I'm learning more and more about it just by being connected to you. I guess my question is, what is your big vision for Code Wiz? And where do you see yourself with it? And we'll start with that. What is your big vision for Code Wiz?
Okay. So I never really had like I don't know if you call it a mission or a vision statement, where you have like a numeric number of the kids that you want to impact. But after we got the acquisition with Tutor Doctor and CSG was final, my daughter, she's 8 years old, she was making me a card to congratulate me. And she said, "Congratulations, Mom," and so on and so forth. I can't wait for Code Wiz to reach 1 billion kids.
Ooh.
I'm like, boom, that's it. That is our vision statement, I think, whatever it's called. That is the number that we're going to reach. And it seems insurmountable. It seems like a lot of kids. I think that's like half the population of kids in the world. But anything and everything is possible. So I am running with that. I believe that every child has an inner genius in them that's just waiting to be unlocked. Whether that's through coding or math or robotics, whatever that is, everybody has some form of genius in them. And for me, I always believed that I had that genius in me. I just didn't know what it was, and so going through college, I was trying to figure it out. And then it turned out that coding was that thing for me. And unlocking that genius has brought me to where I am today, right? And so I believe that everybody has that. And so I am trying to empower as many kids as I can to unlock that inner genius through coding and robotics. And the goal is 1 billion kids. Lord help us.
I love it. Well, you just said it like on a podcast, so now it's really official.
It is official now.
This is awesome. Okay, so I think that's a perfect segue then into your partnership with Clear Summit Group. So I'm just going to clarify for the audience because they probably may or may not recognize the name, because Clear Summit Group is the parent company of 7 brands. I believe it's 7 brands, and of which Tutor Doctor is one of them, which is an amazing company and has over, I think, over about 400 franchisees with overall something like 700 locations, some multi-unit franchisees globally. So, very established and well-run company, owned by Clear Summit Group. And I know that you were approached by them, and the idea was, tutoring and coding really go hand in hand. You probably can speak better to that than I can. But in doing this, you were partnering, and I'm just thinking about your big goal. I'm kind of guessing this has something to do with it, but I'll let you speak to it. What led you to the decision to join forces with Clear Summit Group, or CSG as it is sometimes called? And what does this, well, let's start there. What led you to making that decision?
Yep. Okay. So, as I said earlier, one of the things that I do really, really well is to jump into stuff and then be like, wow, okay, this is bigger than me. And I believe honestly that you, and I think, I don't know if it's an African proverb. I think it's an African proverb where it says, if you want to walk 1 mile, go alone. If you want to walk 10 miles, go with people, or something along those lines. And I truly believe that. And so when I started to see the potential that Code Wiz had, originally when I started Code Wiz, my big, hairy, audacious goal at that time was, oh my God, I'm gonna have 5 locations in Massachusetts, and I would feel accomplished and fulfilled. And life happened, and I was not able to open more corporate centers, but I could see the demand. I could see what our competitors were doing. And, I just had this conversation with myself is, if you really want to become a household name, I mean, we didn't have that 1 billion numeric number at that time, but I did know that I wanted to become a household name, kind of like in the after school space where you say Kumon and everybody knows what you're talking about. Right. So I knew that that's where I wanted to be. And when I sat down and I looked at it, I'm like, okay, I know that because I can be hyper focused on my goal and I'll just keep knocking things out of the way until I get there. I know that I can do this on my own if I wanted to, but this might be a whole lot faster and a whole lot easier if I partner with the right people. And then with many of us, COVID brought into focus what things that were really important to us, and things that you start to reflect and be like, what are some of the things that I have given up for this business, and what are the things that maybe I need to change. And one of the things for me was I just needed to spend more time with my family. I was really, really busy, like more than dawn to dusk, like almost more like 14-hour days, just working, working, working. And my kids are young, they're 8 and 5. My son is special needs, so he does require a lot more attention. And so that was also something that I factored into my decision is I would have to keep sacrificing more and more and more time with my family if I wanted to do this on my own, or I could partner, get some time back in my day to be able to really hang out with my people, but then still get to where I need to be. And that really was the foundation of my decision. And there were a couple of opportunities, but I really liked Clear Summit Group. One, because they, like you knew them, Angela, and you worked with them and you really liked them. That was important to me. But I also, just in conversations with them, I loved their values. I loved that they were also very purpose driven. It's not in the end, it's they're business people, but it's not all about the money, right? It's a whole lot more than that. And I think one of the other things too that really I really loved about them, or I really do love about them, is that they are betting on you, the founder. It's like we like you, and we are going to put all these resources behind you because we believe that you can do this. And that is so empowering for someone to say, look, listen, I don't know you that well, but from what I know, I think you're awesome and I believe in you and I'm going to support you. That is huge, especially okay. This is answering another question, but I'll keep going.
It's okay.
Especially when you come from the tech world, where it's very male dominated, and you have to kind of like fight your way to the top and claw your way and do all sorts of things to get promoted and things like that, and where you are also an immigrant and a woman of color, and where you traditionally have to, not traditionally but typically have to fight for things and fight to be recognized and fight to be taken seriously. Then you have this company saying, girl, we believe in you and we're going to put all these resources behind you. That was huge. That was huge for me. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
Mm.
So yeah, that's some of the thinking behind why I chose to do this.
That's awesome. I think that the alignment of core values, the purpose is just you can feel it, and just in hearing and hear it in your voice and feel it. And again, I got more chills. I almost started to cry again. So, and just how does this impact your franchisees being a part of this bigger company? I'm sure that, that could have been a little bit of a anxiety for them. Well, what are we still going to be with Ruth? Where's is Ruth going to go away? I'm
Yeah.
sure we all know, like, it is you that people are drawn to right now in the business. I hope it always is. So yeah. So how did your franchisees react? More importantly, I should say, how does this impact your current franchisees and new ones coming in?
Yeah, so that was one of the first, when I was sharing the news with the franchisees, that was one of the first questions, like, wait, are
Yeah.
you leaving? I'm like, nope, nope, it's Code Wiz till I die. But I think that was also another thing that I probably should have mentioned earlier is the impact on the franchisees, both current and future, is massive. Because franchising, what I'm learning is it's really all about helping your franchisees to be successful. You can bring in, if you want, you can bring in a ton of franchisees, but then in the end, if your franchisees are not successful, if they're not happy, then you really have nothing. Like if everybody walks away, you have nothing. And so making sure that they're profitable, making sure that they're hitting the goals that they've set for themselves is a huge part of franchising. And I've always known this. And when I started franchising, one of the reasons people, a lot of times I do get asked, oh, how come you have, 7 units, whereas your competitors have, 100, 200, 300? And I always say that I wanted to only take on as many as I could support, because if I take in, everybody that has a check and they're not happy, then I am not happy. And so I was growing according to our infrastructure. And so now that we now have the 350-pound gorilla of Tutor Doctor behind us, we can grow as fast as, cautiously, of course, and bringing on the right partners, but we can grow more quickly than we have been before, because now we have a team that is dedicated to supporting our franchisees. We have a team that's dedicated to, from the day they sign, they hold their hand for the first year, which is hugely impactful. Having somebody who's checking in with you, keeping you accountable, helping you to brainstorm through your problems. Like everybody has ops, well, not everybody, but most people say they have ops manuals, they have that initial training, which is all well and good, but there's only so much knowledge that people actually take from training into the day-to-day business. And so having that person who's with you checking in every week for the first year and making sure that you are hitting the ground flying, basically, and being profitable, hitting those goals that you've set for yourself, helping you to figure out problems, that's huge for our current franchisees and our future franchisees. So there's a lot of upsides. There's a lot of upsides for them, and part of it too is, Tutor Doctor, we serve the same demographics, which is why the alignment was so strong. And they figured out a whole lot of things on the marketing side, like somebody said, a broker said to me recently that Tutor Doctor is the king of guerrilla marketing, right? Like they do it so well. And so we have all of that knowledge that we're just literally tapping into right now. Where it says Tutor Doctor, we just put Code Wiz and it literally applies. So and that's helped that franchisees, most of the franchise prospects I talk to always talk about, they're nervous about marketing. And so we have all of that institutional knowledge that we can take and, give it to the new franchise partners and even the current ones to just run with and start to see results very early on.
Awesome. I'm going to summarize. So some of the benefits that was really helpful to understand. Some of the benefits, the faster growth, faster than you can do as when you were on your own. The benefit to franchisees of that is the brand building, right? And more, the more the franchise company grows, the more resources are there to support franchisees, and more marketing can happen, all those things. Mm-hmm. So the growth, like the pace of growth, the added levels of support for franchisees that you weren't maybe able to offer as a smaller independent franchisor. Now you tap into all of that, so that they're actually getting really good coaching, and then the expertise and systems that they have figured out that you get to tap into as well. So that, which benefits the franchisees, especially when it comes to, like you said, marketing and how to get customers in the door, quote unquote. So, wow. So that's really, really awesome. This has just been so fun, and we're not done yet. We're going to ask you some more questions, but very cool to hear about that partnership with Clear Summit Group. And I think, you did a lot of work making sure that you guys were aligned. You really had a lot of meetings with them. And so that's how, it's on a good path. Okay. I'm going to ask you now, what, in terms of, like lessons learned, and this can be broad, some of the and you've maybe kind of already spoke to them a little bit, but just, I want to ask it this way. So what are some of the most important lessons you've learned through your experience thus far, kind of like from you're in Nigeria to now? What are some of the biggest lessons, or one of them, however you want to answer that?
Let's see. I think the first thing that came to mind when you asked that question is, one of the things that I have learned is you can only go as far as your mind lets you go. And I can explain that. If in your mind you're like, yeah, I can't be more than this, or I can't go beyond that level, that is it for you. But if you give yourself limitless potential and opportunities in your mind, that's the first battle, is overcoming challenges in your mind. Everything else starts to just align, and everything, you start to attract the things that you need, the resources that you need, the people that you need to help you to get to your goal. But the first battle is in your mind. And I think that when I look back to see where I come from, and I'm like, man, Ruth, wow. How did you know, like, you didn't even know that this is where you would be. You didn't, and it's just been 11 years. You didn't know this is where you would be. You didn't know that you could achieve this much. But in my mind, I had always said, I am unstoppable, and I can be anything that I want to be. And so that's just the number one lesson, is I find that, and then I've also found that I've gone through periods in my life where things were tough and I'm just like negative mindset. Oh man, this stinks. And truly everything was stinking, right? Like I was making no progress and no growth. But when I changed my mindset, things start to move. And it's kind of funny because your thing says mindset is everything, and I just noticed that.
Now you get it. So for people that are listening and not watching this, I have a canvas behind me that says mindset is everything. And I was just thinking, she's just telling me what I already know. but no, it makes so much sense. It's so that's probably why we align so much, but it's so true. And it kind of goes back to what you said about goals. When you know your goal and you believe you can get there,
Right.
because you will get through the challenges on the way and you'll find people to support you, then that was your mindset, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that would totally be my number one lesson is mindset is everything. Keeping a positive mindset and a can-do mindset of everything is figure outable mindset, really, really makes a huge difference. And sometimes people feel like it sounds like fluff, but it really does. It really does make a huge difference. And I think the second lesson again has to do with people, because one of the things that I know that I do well is working by myself. Like I'm a workhorse. Just tell me, if I lay out what I need to do, I will get it done. But really embracing a team, embracing mentorship. That was also another thing that I struggled with was, I don't need no mentors. I know what I'm doing, especially in the business. Like, why is this person telling me to do this? This makes no sense. But really just embracing that and having an open mindset. And just for the listeners, Angela did not ask me to plug this in for her, but I just have to say it because she's been one of my most impactful mentors. Is working with you really opened my mind to a lot of things, like a lot of possibilities. And the one example I'll give is social media. I remember when you're like, you got to put yourself out there, Ruth. And I'm like, God, no, why? I don't like putting my pictures out there. Why do I do a video? I don't like all these things. But you kept pushing me to really get out of my comfort zone. And that has made such a huge difference for me personally and for the business. Just putting myself out there on social media, sharing my story, sharing the brand story, sharing my goals and the things that I'm hoping for, and sharing my thoughts on and trying to inspire people. That has made such a huge difference to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. And now I'm telling people, oh yeah, you need to put yourself on social media. Yeah, you're not doing a very good job of that. Don't worry about it. I know it's uncomfortable, just do it. So, but that's so I guess I'm such a storyteller.
It's good.
Surrounding yourself with people, like a strong team, people that believe in you. Shout out to Esther and Brenda, who are like the core Code Wiz team right now that put in everything every day. Shout out to them. But just having that strong team and having a strong mentor or a group of mentors, it makes a difference, makes a huge difference. You always think you know everything, but you have blind spots that you're not aware of. And all people around you can help you overcome those blind spots.
Yeah. And you're saying so many good things that the people around you help you see things different, or like open your mind, like you said, create that space for you to stop and kind of think about things differently. I'm going to summarize a couple lessons I heard there. So mindset is everything. Being careful about your mindset, what you believe. Again, the everything is figure outable came up. Getting out of your comfort zone, the value of that, and the growth that you've gotten from that, and then surrounding yourself with, the right people and mentors. So those are some of the big lessons you've learned. I just wanted to say it that way so people can really just take it as a takeaway. Take that. Okay. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then, you and I could talk all day, but I'm going to ask you one more question. And then I'm going to get you to tell people how they can reach out to you, especially if people are thinking, oh my goodness, I want to become a franchisee of Code Wiz. What's the best? What's that?
I said hello.
Yeah, we're right here. So we'll tell them what's the best way to get in touch with you and your team. So we'll come to that in just a minute when to wrap up, but I guess just like final words of wisdom. I guess you just gave a bunch already, but I'm going to say it this way. What words of wisdom can you share with folks who are in your shoes, whether they're female or person of color, or, someone who feels that they face more challenges, maybe they're young, just maybe a little pep talk. What are some inspiring words you could give them to help them take that action?
Okay. I would say, life throws at us different challenges and different things that we have to deal with. And that's just the first thing to just get over is, it's either going to be you're young or you're old, or, you're of a different race that maybe is a bit marginalized, or you're in a male dominated field as a female, or you have a child with special needs. There's always going to be one thing or the other that's going to be wanting to hold you back and pull you down. And I think that's just the first thing we all need to accept, that life has challenges. Some people have more challenges than others, but life in general just has challenges. But that's not going to stop you from doing what it is that you feel you are made to do. Like, I think that every one of us was made to do something really special, and it may not necessarily, some are big and blown out and everybody gets to see it, and some people, no, you don't get to see their awesomeness and their amazingness. But whatever it is that you feel like you were created to do, you have everything that it takes within you to make that happen. You just need to, first of all, accept that life has challenges, but that you're gonna surmount those challenges. You're going to get over it, and you're going to do everything that you can. Fix your mindset, surround yourself with people that care, surround yourself with people that believe in you more than you believe in yourself, right? And just get going and take one step at a time. Another thing that happens is that sometimes we look at the goal and it just seems so far away, it's overwhelming, but you just have to take one step at a time, just one step at a time. And when you fall down, you get back up, take another step, and just keep going. And before you know it, you would have hit that goal or even surpassed it, right? But it's really about the intentionality of it, believing that you can, and actually doing something about it, and you will get there.
Boom, mic drop. You are going far, my friend. And I hope I get to stay on the journey with you. And I hope you don't forget me when you get even more. Of
course not.
You're just incredibly inspiring. And yeah, it's so crazy to think that you were, fetching water, in Nigeria. And then you're here now and you're using your gifts and your superpowers to impact others. I think I just had goosebumps the whole time. So for people that do want to connect with you, I know you, whether that's becoming a franchisee, you love to, you attract awesome people to you. And so if they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you, both maybe, whether that's you or becoming a franchisee?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably my most active social media platform. So folks can always connect with me on LinkedIn, and that's just Ruth Agbaji, probably the only one there. And then you can also email me. My email is ruth@thecodewiz.com. And whether that's just to chat or you are a potential franchise partner, I'll just pass you on to our awesome team that we have. To explore the opportunity. But yeah, you can connect with me directly. I'm always happy to connect and swap stories.
Awesome. All right. Well, this has been super fun. And thank you so much, Ruth. Again, thanks to the CFA for the opportunity for me to guest host, and go be awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Angela.